Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode where we delve into robot structural analysis. This is our Getting Started series. I think the last time I did one of these was in June, or actually, that was our first one, and that was grids and levels. So please be sure to check that out. We will cover that in today's clip as well, but we will run through it just a lot quicker. But the focus will be on how to add members within the robot modeling space. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So within robot, the geometry I chose or the structure type was just the normal building design. Right, and I'm going to stick with that one. And I'm just going to run through creating some levels. All right, so we're going to start with one at position 1. We are going to start with position 10 meters, well, 5, 10, 15, and 20. Going to do the same this side. Alrighty, and then we're going to create some levels in the Z direction. So we already got a base in a story 1, and that's just because of the structure type that we chose. We have one at 0, and I'm going to add one at 5, and then click apply. All right, so we've got our grid there. And one of the things that confused me at first within the building design structure type template is how on earth do I get to my 3D view? Now, you might be scratching around in the view dropdown, but the way to do it is actually you check at the top here, just at the top of your model space, there's plan and view, and you just click on view, and there you are within your 3D space. All right, so let's look at adding some members. So you can either look at the side here, you can look at some of these settings, you can see there's beams, columns, etc. Or you can just go to geometry and go to members. So I'm going to click on members. This opens up the member dialog. And here you can set your member type, I think, which is really a good idea. And you can select your section. So if you click on the dropdown, these are the sections that are currently loaded into the model. And we want to add to that list. So we click on that little button over there, and it opens up the new section dialog. So firstly, your section type, you can select from these options here. You can rotate it around its own longitudinal axis, and you can assign a material. Of course, you're not fixed to what you're doing here, but it is a good idea to just get it right from the start. So with that, I'm happy with the section type and the material. We are going to look at adding some sections. So you've got a whole list of tabs. So parametric, you can actually create your own sections, which is amazing. You've got tapered sections, compound sections, etc. But we are going to stay within the standard space for now. What you want to look at is just your database. And in South Africa, the South African Institute of Steel Construction 2010 profiles are perfect. Okay, so if you have the Red Book 2010, even the 2016 version will work. I think the difference between the 2010 and 2016 version is just the omission of the tapered sections in the 2016 version. But I do speak under correction. I do still have the 2010 Red Book. And yeah, I'm happy with it. I don't think there's been any significant changes between the 2010 and the 2016 model. But if you know of any significant changes, please pop them in the chat below. That will be really, really helpful. So, all right, we've got our database, and then we are going to look at our family. So AE would probably be angles equal. AU would probably be angles unequal. So if you click on that, you can see what happens. And it actually gives you a nice description, which is brilliant. So we have equal angles. All right, so this is probably one. Oh yeah, that is one that is rotated around its axis, its longitudinal axis. But we are going to look at some universal columns. I'm happy with a 203 by 203 by 52. I'm going to add that one. And then I'm going to go to universal beams, and I'm going to add a nice beam and click add. Right, you can set its color, and you can change its label, which is very nice. As you can see, there's a space. One thing to note here is when you're mapping between, let's say, sumo and Revit using Proteus. So this is a completely different topic. This convention can actually catch you off guard because different families, especially within the Revit space, have different conventions for exactly the same element type. So just some food for thought there. All right, I'm quite happy with the convention there. I'm happy that I've added those members and I can click close. So now what you'll see is there's that universal column and there's that universal beam. Sorry, I was just looking, what? I didn't add another universal column. There's that universal beam. All right, so you build on this list, and I think the reason it's done this way is so that it doesn't clutter your selection of a particular section. All right, what you want in the model is what you have access to in this drop-down. So firstly, we're going to go for universal columns, and you can move this dialog to the side, and you can see that this is sort of the way that you are going to place elements right at the beginning. You can do it freehand, not a good idea, but you can see there that those 3 lines link with the grid lines, and you can place your members like that initially. Later on, you will be able to snap to members. All right, so I'm going to click there, so you can see it's right on the base, and as I move it up and I click, there's my member. I'll do the same here. So as your grid gets more complicated, this can get harder. So just letting you know. Do the same here and there and there and there. All right, so now I want to add, so this was just simple members. I can change them to columns, but for now, honestly, we're just looking at the basics of this, but I'm going to change this to beam, and I'm going to select my universal beam, and I'm going to snap. So you can see here, it actually snaps to the top, to the middle, or the bottom of that particular member, and not necessarily to the grid. All right, so once you have the basics going, you can work with snaps. All right, so I'm going to snap from there to there, there to there, there to there, and there to there. And then I'm going to look at a mid snap from there to there, and there to there, and there to there, and there. All right. So say for instance, I want to add some bracing in here. I'm going to go back in here, open up this dialog. I'm going to look at my angles. So I want my equal angles, and I'm looking at a 60 by 60 by 10. I'm going to click add. Already exists. I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to modify it, and I can now select that section. It's still a beam. I'm happy with it to remain that, and I'm going to snap from these points to there, from there to there, from there to there, and there to there. All right. So I'm happy with this so far. I can switch it off, so section shape, so that you just see the analytical lines. So that's down there. Right. If I select an element, you'll actually see that there's properties. There's a properties table here. And you can see that you can click in some of these and not in all of them. All right, some of them will be fixed, and some of them you can actually modify. Right, so if we look at here in properties, you see that you can't click on the top gamma cell, but once you click on the drop down or the expand button, you can actually expand, so you can modify its gamma. So whether you want to rotate that by 90 degrees or whatever you might want. So some of the properties you can adjust, and some you won't be able to. All right. And here you can see some of its properties. And again, just because the cell is white does not mean that you can edit the data. All right, so just be wary of that. Even though those values are present here, does not mean that you can necessarily change it. All right, so this is just useful if you want to change the gamma angle, so the rotation of the member around or about its longitudinal axis. Right, and that really is the basics of adding members. It will be the same whether these are concrete members, timber, or whatever it might be. And again, this is just part of our Getting Started series to just explain the basics of adding members in robot structural analysis. We will look at more advanced topics as we move along, but we really just want to cover the basics in getting started for now. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that this was helpful to you. Please put something in the comments if there's something else you'd like to see or anything you might want to add. And please remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. check you in the next clip.